Jairus did not sleep. He did not need to. He stood in a quiet place that felt like a hallway made of time. No wind, no dust, no voices, just a steady hum, like a giant clock that never stopped. Most days the clock stayed calm. Today it flinched. A thin line of light appeared in the air. It was not a portal yet. It was more like a scratch on glass. The scratch widened, then pulled back, as if reality itself was unsure it should open. Jairus tilted his head. His eyes did not blink. "This is not normal," he said, voice flat. On the other side of the realms, in Earthrealm, the morning was loud. A film crew was setting up near a city street. Lights, cables, people shouting about angles. Johnny Cage stood in the middle of it all, wearing sunglasses even though the sun was behind clouds. He was practicing a punch in slow motion and making sure everybody saw it. "Okay," Johnny said, grinning. "Now do the camera move where I look like I'm 10% more heroic than normal." The assistant waved a clipboard. "We're rolling in 30. Johnny cracked his neck. He looked to the side and saw two fighters standing with quiet patience. They did not dress like actors. They dressed like people who could end a fight fast. One was Raiden, young and focused, hands behind his back. The other was Kung Lao, hat low, eyes sharp. Johnny pointed at them. "You guys always show up when I'm trying to work," Raiden said. "Liu Kang asked us to watch." Kung Lao added, "He said something is wrong." Johnny made a show of rolling his eyes. "Something is always wrong. It's this job." Then the streetlights flickered. Not like a power problem, like the air itself forgot what light was. The sound dropped out for 1 second. Voices went silent. Even the cars felt like they froze. A crack of brightness tore open above the road. People screamed. The crack widened into a jagged hole, like a rip in a giant curtain. The hole did not glow with gentle light. It shone hard, sharp, and wrong. Something fell out of it. A man. He did not spin or flail. He dropped like a stone, feet first, as if he expected the ground to be there. He hit the asphalt with a dull thump. A small circle of dust jumped up. The road did not break. The man did not sink. It was like the world itself decided not to get damaged. The hole in the air snapped shut behind him. The man stood up. He was bald. He wore a plain yellow suit with a white cape, red gloves, and red boots. It looked almost silly next to the city and the frightened crowd. He brushed dust off his shoulder, like he had fallen off a chair. Johnny stared. "Okay, that is not in my script." Kung Lao's stance shifted, hat hand ready. "Who are you?" Raiden stepped forward, calm but prepared. "State your purpose." The bald man looked at them. His face was blank, like he was thinking about something boring. He glanced around at the street, the people, the cameras. Then he looked down at his own hands. He took a deep, slow breath. He said. "Is this a new city?" Johnny pointed at him with both hands. "Yes, and you just dropped out of the sky like a bad special effect. So start talking." The man blinked once. "Sorry." That was all he offered. Then a second thing happened. The wind shifted. The smell of hot metal and smoke rolled in from nowhere. A portal opened at the far end of the street. This one was not bright and clean. It was thick and dark, like someone poured shadow into a doorway. 3 creatures stepped out. They were tall and hunched, with sharp teeth and pale eyes. Their arms ended in blades made of bone. People did not need to know their names to know they were dangerous. The creatures hissed and rushed forward. The crowd panicked. People ran. The film crew tripped over cables. A camera crashed. Johnny grabbed a prop stick, then realized it was a prop stick and tossed it away. "Okay, this is definitely not my script." Kung Lao moved first. He spun his hat out like a saw and clipped one creature's shoulder. It did not go down. It just got angrier. Raiden's hand sparked with electricity. He stepped in, focused, ready to strike. But the bald man walked forward too. He did it like someone walking toward a bus stop. One creature lunged at him, blades first. The bald man moved one arm, not a combo, not a special stance, just a straight punch. His glove tapped the creature's chest. There was a sound like a heavy door slamming. The creature did not explode. It did not spray anything. It simply vanished, like a chalk drawing wiped clean. One moment it was there. The next, it was gone. The other two froze. Kung Lao's eyes widened. "What?" Johnny whispered. "Please tell me the camera got that." The next creature tried again, faster, smarter. It came from the side, aiming for the bald man's neck. He turned his head, saw it, and punched again. The creature vanished too. The last creature backed away. It looked like fear, even if its face could barely show it. It opened its mouth and screamed. The scream did not sound like a normal scream. It sounded like a signal. Somewhere far away, something listened. The bald man sighed, like he was late for something. He jogged forward 2 steps and flicked his fist out. The last creature vanished. Silence returned. People stared from behind cars and doors. Raiden lowered his hand slowly. Kung Lao caught his hat and did not put it back on yet. Johnny's mouth hung open. The bald man turned around. He looked at the broken camera on the ground, then at the terrified people. "I'm sorry," he said again, still calm. "I didn't mean to scare anybody." Johnny took 1 step closer, eyes wide behind his sunglasses. "Buddy, you didn't scare anybody. You just made 3 nightmare monsters disappear." The bald man scratched his cheek. "Oh, okay." Raiden studied him. "You did not use sorcery," Kung Lao said, voice tight. "You did not use a weapon." Johnny pointed at the sky where the crack had been. "And you came through a tear in reality, like it was an elevator door." The bald man looked up too, like he hoped it would open again. It did not. He looked back at them. For the first time, something like mild worry touched his face. "How do I get home?" he asked. Far away, in the quiet hall of time, Guerra watched the line of light grow again. And in a hidden place where old magic still crawled, a man with a smooth voice felt a strange ripple and smiled, because someone had just punched the rules. The temple was quiet, but it was not peaceful. It was built to feel calm. Stone floors, wide steps, warm lantern light, a place where warriors could breathe and think before a fight. Fire god Liu Kang stood at the center of the room, hands behind his back. His face looked gentle, but his eyes carried weight. He had seen worlds end. He had also built worlds back up. He watched the stranger stand in the middle of the floor. The bald man did not look impressed. He did not look scared either. He looked like a person waiting for a line at a store to move faster. Guerra stood near Liu Kang, still and steady. Raiden and Kung Lao stood to one side, respectful but tense. Johnny Cage was also there, even though nobody invited him. He leaned on a pillar like the pillar belonged to him. Scorpion stood in shadow at the edge of the room, arms folded. Sub-Zero stood opposite him, equally still. Liu Kang spoke first, voice calm. "You arrived through a break in reality." The stranger nodded. "Yeah." "You defeated intruders with 1 strike," Liu Kang continued. The stranger shrugged. "They were attacking people." Johnny lifted a hand. "Also, he erased them from existence. Just throwing that out there." The stranger glanced at Johnny. "I didn't erase them. I just punched them." Jarrus said. "The result was erasure." The stranger frowned. "That sounds like a magic thing." "It is not magic from you," Liu Kang said. "That is what worries us." The stranger blinked. "Okay." Liu Kang tried again, gentler. "What is your name?" The stranger paused. He looked away, like he was searching his memory for something simple. "Saitama," he said. Raiden's eyes narrowed, as if the name should mean something. It did not. Kung Lao repeated it softly. Saitama, Johnny smirked. Cool, I'm Johnny Cage. Try not to one-punch my career. Saitama looked at him. Are you strong? Johnny laughed, then stopped when nobody else laughed. I mean, emotionally? Saitama nodded, like that was an answer. Liu Kang stepped closer. He did not crowd him. He simply brought the room's focus in. Saitama, do you know what world you are in? Saitama looked around at the temple. Not really. You are in Earthrealm, Liu Kang said. But Earthrealm is only one part of a larger set of realms. They are often in conflict. There are rules that decide peace or war. Saitama's eyes stayed flat. Rules? Garrus added. A tournament. Mortal Kombat. It has decided the fate of realms many times. Saitama stared for a moment. So, people fight to decide who gets to own the world. Raiden's jaw tightened. It is not ownership. It is survival. Saitama scratched his head. That seems stressful. Liu Kang watched him closely. No fear, no pride, no hunger for power, just honest confusion. That was not normal for warriors. That was also dangerous in a different way. Liu Kang turned his hand palm up. A small flame formed above it. It swirled like a living thing. The light warmed the air. This is my power, Liu Kang said. It is part of me. Saitama leaned in a little, curious. Nice. Liu Kang closed his hand, and the flame vanished. We need to understand what you are, where you came from, and why the fabric of reality opened for you. Saitama pointed at himself. I'm just a hero. Johnny perked up. Oh, we love heroes here. It's basically my brand. Saitama continued, still simple. I used to be normal. Then I trained. A lot. Every day. Kung Lao tilted his head. What kind of training? Saitama lifted a finger as if listing groceries. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run. Johnny stared. That's it? Saitama nodded. Every day. Raiden looked offended on behalf of every monk who had ever bled for skill. And that made you like this? Saitama thought. I guess. Sub-Zero's eyes narrowed. He did not speak, but his mind was already moving. If power like this could come from a simple routine, then the realms were standing on a cliff and did not know it. Scorpion's gaze stayed fixed. His anger did not flare. His code held him steady. But his instincts told him one thing. This man was not a normal threat. He was a force. Liu Kang said, In your world, what do you fight? Saitama's face changed slightly. Not excitement. More like mild sadness. Monsters, he said. Bad guys, too. People who hurt others. He paused. Sometimes, he added, I fight because it's my job. But mostly I do it because it feels wrong to ignore people in trouble. That was the most emotional thing he had said so far. It was quiet, but it mattered. Johnny's voice softened without him meaning to. So, you're like, actually, a good guy. Saitama looked at him. Aren't you? Johnny coughed. Yes, sure, absolutely. Jarrah stepped forward, hands behind his back. We will test you. Saitama's eyes drifted to the ceiling. Okay. The tests were strange, even to the people in the room. Garrus brought out a thin, glowing disc and placed it on the floor. Lines of light crawled across the stone in a circle. This measures how the soul responds, Garrus said. Saitama stepped into the circle. Nothing happened. No glow, no pull, no reaction. Jarrus frowned, for the first time. It was barely a change, but Liu Kang caught it. Jarrus moved his hand. The circle tightened, like a net closing. Saitama yawned. The circle flickered and went out, as if it had failed. Johnny whispered, Did he just yawn at your time magic? Jarrus ignored him. Your presence does not register correctly. Saitama looked down at his boots. Maybe it's broken. It is not broken, Garrus said. Liu Kang spoke carefully. Garrus, what does that mean? Garrus's eyes stayed on Saitama. It means his existence is not written in this timeline. Raiden took a slow breath. So he should not be here, Kung Lao said. Then how did he get here? Saitama raised a hand. I fell through a hole. Sub-Zero finally spoke, voice even. A hole does not open for no reason. Saitama looked at him. Okay. Sub-Zero continued. A portal is made, or it is forced. Either way, someone benefits. Saitama blinked. You think someone brought me here? Scorpion's voice came low, like a warning. Or something noticed you. Liu Kang lifted his hand gently, calming the room. We cannot assume enemies yet. Sub-Zero did not relax. We must plan, as if they exist. Johnny nodded fast. Finally, someone who speaks my language? Paranoia. Liu Kang turned back to Saitama. I need to know your limits. Saitama looked tired again. I don't know. Raiden stepped forward. Then we test in combat. Liu Kang held up a hand. Not to harm, only to learn. Raiden bowed. Understood. They moved outside to a wide training courtyard. The stone was smooth. The air was cool. Mountains sat in the distance like silent walls. Saitama stood with his hands in his pockets. Raiden took a stance. Feet planted, shoulders loose, eyes steady. Kung Lao watched with a tight face. He wanted Raiden to look good. He also wanted answers. Johnny stood at the side with his phone held up. This is going to break the internet, he whispered. Liu Kang's voice carried softly. Begin. Raiden moved fast. Lightning snapped around his hands and feet. He closed the distance in one burst, aiming a clean strike at Saitama's chest. Saitama shifted a half step. Raiden's punch hit air. Raiden spun, sweeping low with a crackle of electricity. Saitama hopped over it, still hands in pockets. Raiden's eyes widened. He was skilled. He was proud. He had trained hard. He could read most fighters. He could not read this. Raiden attacked again, faster, using angles, trying to trap Saitama near the edge of the courtyard. Saitama sighed. You're good. Raiden almost smiled. Then Saitama lifted one hand and tapped Raiden's shoulder with 2 fingers. It was not a punch. It was not even a push. Raiden flew backward. He did not explode. He did not splatter. He simply shot across the courtyard like a thrown ball and skidded to a stop near the far wall. The stone under his feet cracked in thin lines. Kung Lao's mouth opened. Johnny yelled, 2 fingers! He did it with 2 fingers! Raiden sat up slowly, eyes wide, breath sharp. His pride took a hit so hard it almost hurt more than his body. Liu Kang stepped forward at once. He checked Raiden with a calm hand, healing warmth in his palm. Are you harmed? Raiden shook his head. No. But the word came out weak. Saitama walked over, hands back in pockets. Sorry. I didn't want to hit you too hard. Kung Lao whispered, mostly to himself. Too hard? Sub-Zero's mind was already changing gears. If direct force meant nothing, then contingency meant something else. Seals, traps, time, politics. Because a man like this could not be fought like a man. Liu Kang faced Saitama again. You did not mean to harm him. I believe you. Saitama nodded. Yeah. Liu Kang's voice stayed gentle, but firm. Then hear me. In these realms, others will try to provoke you. They will try to turn you into a weapon. They will try to make you a symbol. Saitama looked confused. Why? Because fear makes people do foolish things, Liu Kang said. Johnny lifted a hand. Also because power sells. Saitama stared at Johnny. Okay. Garrus's eyes fixed on the air above the courtyard. The sunlight looked normal, but the feeling in the space did not. A soft ripple moved through the realm like a distant drumbeat. Geras spoke, quiet, but sharp. "The anomaly has been noticed." Liu Kang's gaze hardened. He felt it too. Somewhere far away, in a hidden chamber lit by green fire, Shang Tsung lifted his head. He had been mixing powders, whispering to objects that did not want to talk. He paused, fingers still, as if he had heard a note nobody else could hear. A ripple had traveled across realms. He smiled slowly. "So," he said to the dark, "a new piece has entered the board." He did not imagine beating this stranger in a fair fight. That thought did not even make him angry. It made him excited. Because if this man did not fit in the timeline, then maybe he could be used to bend it. Shang Tsung stepped toward a mirror and watched his own eyes. "Let the heroes keep him," he whispered. "For now." He turned away and began to write a new plan. Back at the temple, Liu Kang made his decision. "We will not imprison you," he told Saitama. "But you will not walk alone." Saitama shrugged. "Fine." Sub-Zero's voice was calm. "Observation is not enough." Liu Kang met his eyes. "I know." Geras added. "The timeline is unstable with him present." Saitama frowned. "Am I breaking something?" Liu Kang chose his words carefully. "Not by intent, but your power is too large for our rules." Saitama stared at the ground. For a moment, he looked almost like a kid who had broken something by accident and did not know how to fix it. Then his face went flat again. "So what do I do?" Liu Kang answered honestly. "For now, we learn. We watch. We protect people. And we prepare for those who will try to use you." Saitama nodded once. "Okay." He looked toward the courtyard, toward the mountains. Quietly, like it was the most normal thought in the world, he asked, "Are there any strong monsters here?" No one answered right away, because the fear in the question was not that he wanted to fight. The fear was that he sounded bored, and boredom in the wrong hands could be worse than rage. The invitation arrived in a way that felt polite, that made it more dangerous. A messenger from Outworld came to Earthrealm's border. He carried a scroll sealed with wax. He did not attack. He bowed. His words were smooth. "A challenge is offered. A sanctioned contest under ancient rules. A display of strength witnessed by many." Kung Lao wanted to spit. "A trap," Raiden said. "A test," Johnny said. "A pay-per-view." Liu Kang read the seal without touching it. His eyes narrowed. "Shang Tsung." Geras's voice was flat. "He has felt the anomaly." Saitama stood nearby, doing slow stretches. He looked only half interested. Liu Kang stepped aside with Geras and Sub-Zero. Their voices stayed low. "He cannot refuse every challenge," Sub-Zero said. "Refusal will be seen as weakness. It will invite war." "He also cannot accept blindly," Liu Kang replied. "He does not understand the politics." Geras added, "Politics are less important than stability. If he strikes with full force in a fragile realm, the damage may spread." Saitama called over, casual. "Are we going somewhere?" Johnny lifted a finger. "Buddy, I hope you like arenas. Mortal Kombat is kind of an arena thing." Saitama blinked. "So it's a tournament?" Raiden nodded. "Yes." Saitama's eyes did not light up. If anything, they dulled. "That sounds like work." Kung Lao snapped. "For some of us, it's life." Saitama looked at him. "Yeah. Sorry." Kung Lao didn't know what to do with that. He looked away. Liu Kang walked back to Saitama. "This challenge is meant to pull you into a public fight." Saitama said, "Okay." "And it will put civilians at risk," Liu Kang added. Saitama's gaze sharpened slightly. "Then we protect them." That simple answer pushed the decision forward. They traveled to a place where realms touched like borders on a map. The Outworld Colosseum rose from stone like a giant bowl. Tall banners hung from spikes. Drums beat a slow rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. Crowds filled the seats. Not just outworld soldiers. Not just nobles. Creatures of many shapes watched with hungry attention. They came to see blood. They came to see fear. Liu Kang hated that. But he also knew the rules mattered. If he ignored them, war would come faster. Saitama walked into the arena like he was late for a meeting. Johnny walked beside him, talking fast. Okay, look. In this universe, people have signature moves. You're gonna want a signature move. Like name, brand it. Something like bald justice? Saitama stared at him. No. Johnny deflated. Fine. Be boring. Raiden and Kung Lao walked behind, tense and ready. Scorpion and Sub-Zero spread to the edges, watching the shadows. Jera stood still near Liu Kang, eyes tracking unseen lines. A gate opened. Shang Tsung stepped out. He wore rich robes. His smile was calm. His eyes were sharp, like knives that did not need to be swung. He bowed to Liu Kang with fake respect. Fire God. Liu Kang did not bow back. Sorcerer! Shang Tsung's gaze slid to Saitama. He studied him like a collector looking at a rare object. And this, Shang Tsung said, voice smooth, must be the guest the realms have been whispering about. Saitama looked around at the crowd. Why are they staring? Johnny whispered. Because you're about to be the main event. Saitama sighed. Great. Shang Tsung lifted his hands. The rules are simple. A contest, a display. No armies, no realm invasion. Just combat. Liu Kang said, You expect me to believe you respect rules? Shang Tsung smiled wider. Rules are tools, Fire God. I respect tools. Snapped his fingers. The arena floor lit up with green runes. The light formed a large circle around Saitama and Shang Tsung. Garrus's eyes narrowed. Containment. Sub-Zero's body tensed. Seal magic. Saitama looked down at the glowing lines near his boots. Is this supposed to stop me? Shang Tsung's voice stayed friendly. Not stop. Only measure. Liu Kang stepped forward, flame rising in his palm. End this. Shang Tsung raised one hand. If you intervene, you break the terms. The crowd will see it. Outworld will call it an insult. And you know what insults cause. Liu Kang froze. His anger burned, but he held it. That was Shang Tsung's real weapon. Not power. Pressure. Saitama looked at Liu Kang, then back to Shang Tsung. So you want to fight? I want to see, Shang Tsung corrected. What you are. Saitama sighed again, deeper. Okay. Shang Tsung clapped once. A gate opened behind him, and a creature stepped out. It was large and thick, like a walking wall. Its skin looked like stone, and scar tissue mixed together. Chains hung from its arms. Its eyes were empty. The crowd roared. Kung Lao whispered, That's a monster built for war. Johnny whispered, That is definitely not Union approved. The creature charged. It hit Saitama with a full-body slam. The impact shook the arena. Dust leapt up. The crowd screamed in joy. When the dust cleared, Saitama was standing in the same spot. His cape fluttered, then settled. He looked down at the creature's head pressed into his chest. Excuse me, Saitama said, calm. He pushed with one hand. The creature flew backward, skidding across stone like a huge crate. It slammed into the far wall and fell still. The crowd's roar faltered. Confusion replaced joy. Shang Tsung watched closely, eyes gleaming. He lifted both hands, and green light crawled from his fingers like smoke. The runes on the floor flared brighter. The air around Saitama changed. It felt heavy, like pressure on the skin. Saitama blinked. Huh. He felt something tug inside him. Not pain, not fear. A pull, like someone trying to grab his shadow. Shang Tsung spoke softly, like a teacher. Your soul, it is loud. Liu Kang's voice sharpened. Do not touch him. Shang Tsung did not look away. I am only listening. The green light tightened, trying to wrap around Saitama's chest. For the first time, Saitama's face showed mild irritation, not anger. More like annoyance at a bug. He lifted his hand and waved once, like shooing smoke. The green light snapped. The runes on the floor flickered. The crowd went silent. Shang Tsung's smile stayed, but his eyes narrowed. He had expected resistance. He had not expected refusal like this. Like the magic itself did not have permission to hold the man. Shang Tsung adjusted. He snapped his fingers again. 3 fighters stepped out this time. Not monsters. Warriors. One wore armor with spikes and a cruel grin. Another moved like a shadow, holding a hooked blade. The last one was masked, carrying a staff that hummed with dark energy. They were not the strongest beings in the realms, but they were killers. They knew pain. They knew tricks. They surrounded Saitama. Saitama looked at them and sighed for the 3rd time. Do you guys have to do this? They attacked together. Steel flashed. A blade aimed for his neck. A staff strike came for his ribs. The hooked weapon tried to catch his ankle and pull him down. Saitama moved once. He stepped between attacks, smooth and casual. He did not dodge with panic. He just walked through the gaps like he already knew where they would swing. He tapped the staff aside with one finger. He lifted his foot, letting the hook miss. He leaned back slightly, letting a sword pass in front of his face. The crowd started to murmur. This did not look like a fight. It looked like a grown man avoiding little kids swinging sticks. Kung Lao's face tightened. Part of him hated it. Part of him could not look away. Raiden whispered. He's not even using a stance, Johnny whispered. He's using boredom. One of the fighters rushed in again, angry now, trying to hurt Saitama's face. Saitama's eyes sharpened a little. He punched. Not a serious punch, but it was still Saitama. The fighter vanished. The crowd gasped as one. The other 2 froze, fear hitting them late. Saitama looked at his own fist. Oops. He looked at the remaining 2. Sorry, I didn't mean... They attacked anyway, because fear can make people stupid. Saitama moved faster this time. 2 quick taps, one on each shoulder. Both fighters flew out of the circle and slammed into the wall, unconscious. They did not vanish. He had held back. Liu Kang exhaled slowly. He felt relief and worry at the same time. Shang Tsung's smile grew thin. He lifted his hands again. This time, he did not try to bind Saitama's body. He aimed at the arena itself. The runes flared with a scream of green light, and the air above Saitama cracked. A thin fracture line appeared in the sky, like the one that had brought Saitama here. Smaller, but similar. Jarrus's eyes widened. He is tearing a weak spot open. Sub-Zero's voice was tight. He's using Saitama as a lever. Liu Kang stepped forward, flames rising. Stop. Shang Tsung spoke calmly, even now. If I stop, I learn nothing. If I continue, I learn everything. The fracture widened. Something moved behind it. Not a creature. Not a person. A pressure. Like a room full of whispers pushing against a door. The crowd started to panic. Even Outworld nobles leaned back, suddenly unsure this was entertainment. Saitama looked up at the crack. His face was still calm, but his eyes watched carefully now. He could feel it too. Not danger to himself, danger to everyone around him. He turned and looked at Liu Kang. That's bad, right? Liu Kang nodded once. Yes. Saitama looked back at the crack, then at Shang Tsung. Hey, Saitama said, voice simple. Stop. Shang Tsung's eyes glittered. Make me. Saitama took one step. The runes on the floor flared again, trying to hold him. They did nothing. He walked through them as if they were paint. Saitama stood in front of Shang Tsung. The sorcerer did not move back. He did not flinch. His pride would not allow it. But inside his mind, something cold moved, because for the first time he understood. This man was not strong. He was a problem the realms were not built to contain. Shang Tsung lifted one hand, and a needle of green light shot toward Saitama's forehead. Not to kill, to mark, to take a piece. Saitama flicked his finger. The green needle broke apart. Shang Tsung's eyes widened a fraction. Saitama drew his arm back. Liu Kang's voice cut through the arena. Saitama! It was not a command. It was a warning. Saitama heard it. He remembered the crack in the sky. He remembered the crowd. So he changed the punch. He punched down, not forward. His fist struck the stone at his own feet. The arena did not explode, but the air slammed outward in a wide ring, like a powerful wind, made solid for one moment. The green runes shattered. The fracture in the sky snapped shut like a mouth. The crowd was thrown back in their seats. Banners ripped. Dust rose in a wave. Shang Tsung's robes flapped hard. He skidded backward, boots scraping stone. He did not die. He did not even bleed. But the message landed. Liu Kang's eyes narrowed. He saw the control. He saw the choice. Saitama could have ended Shang Tsung with a tap. Instead, he had ended the problem. Shang Tsung steadied himself. His smile returned. Smaller now, but sharper. He looked at his own hand. In his palm, a tiny spark of energy flickered. So small that most eyes would miss it. A sample. He had not taken Saitama's soul, but he had stolen a trace of whatever made the rules bend. That was enough for a man like him. He bowed again, like this was still polite. Impressive. Liu Kang stepped forward, anger controlled. You endangered everyone. Shang Tsung spread his hands. And yet, everyone lives, thanks to your guest. He turned his head to Saitama, smile smooth. I look forward to learning more about you. Saitama stared back. Please don't. Shang Tsung laughed softly, then stepped back into a portal of green flame. He vanished. The arena stayed quiet for a moment. Then the crowd erupted, not in joy, but in wild fear and loud talk. People had come to watch a match. Instead, they had watched the rules of the realms wobble. Raiden walked closer to Saitama, eyes still wide. You closed the tear, Saitama shrugged. It looked annoying. Kung Lao swallowed hard. That was not a normal tear. Saitama looked at them. Is this tournament thing going to keep happening? Liu Kang answered, voice steady. Yes. Saitama sighed again, and this time it carried something heavier. Okay, he said. Then we should probably stop the guy who keeps doing that. Jiras's eyes stayed on the spot in the sky where the crack had been. He could still feel the vibration in time. This had not been a single event. It was the start of a chain. And somewhere in the dark places between realms, something else had felt the crack close. Something that liked cracks. Something that wanted more. Saitama looked up at the sky, then down at his hands. For a second, he looked almost thoughtful. Then he asked, as if the question mattered just as much as saving worlds. So, where can I do my run tomorrow? No one laughed. Not because it was not funny, because it was the first time they realized something simple and scary at once. This man could shake reality, and he still cared about his morning routine. The ride back from Outworld felt quiet, but it was not calm. Liu Kang walked at the front, hands behind his back, face steady. The others followed. Raiden kept looking at the sky as if he expected it to split again. Kung Lao kept replaying the moment in his head where Saitama stepped through the runes like they were nothing. Johnny Cage kept talking, but even his jokes were thinner than usual. Saitama walked with his cape hanging straight down. He looked like he had already forgotten the crowd, the crack, and the sorcerer's smile. He only looked mildly annoyed. "Do you think I broke their floor?" he asked. Johnny blinked. "Their floor? Dude, you almost broke the universe." Saitama stared. "I didn't mean to." "That's the problem," Sub-Zero said. His voice was calm. His eyes were not. Saitama glanced at him. "What problem?" Sub-Zero did not answer right away. He waited until they reached the temple grounds, where stone walls blocked wind and sound. Then he spoke like he was talking to a soldier. "You do not understand the game you stepped into," Sub-Zero said. "In these realms, power becomes property. People will try to claim you." Saitama's face stayed blank. "They can't." Kung Lao snapped. "You think it's about whether they can beat you? It's not." Saitama looked at Kung Lao, then back at Sub-Zero. "Then what is it about?" Jairus answered instead, voice flat as always. "It is about what your existence does to rules." They entered the inner hall. Lanterns glowed. The air smelled like clean stone and old incense. Liu Kang turned to face Saitama. "I owe you honesty," he said. Saitama nodded. "Okay." Liu Kang spoke in simple words, because complex words did not help here. "When Shang Tsung tried to pull at you with magic, the realm reacted. It opened a weak place. If that happens again, and again, the weak places may join. That could tear a realm apart." Saitama blinked once. "So I'm like a crack maker?" "No," Liu Kang said quickly. "You did not cause it on purpose. But you are new. You are not part of our timeline." Jairus' eyes stayed on Saitama. "He is an anomaly." Johnny raised a hand like he was in school. "I still think we should call him the Bald Event. It's catchy." Nobody laughed. Johnny lowered his hand. "Okay." Saitama scratched his cheek. "So what do you want me to do?" Liu Kang held his gaze. "Stay close. Let us learn how to keep the realm safe with you here." Saitama nodded. "Fine." Sub-Zero spoke again, quieter. "And if you decide you're bored of us?" Saitama looked at him. "Then I'll leave." "Can you?" Sub-Zero asked. Saitama paused. He stared at the floor like it might give him an answer. "I don't know," he admitted. That honest answer made the room colder, because it meant nobody knew what happened next. News traveled fast across Earthrealm, faster than fire, faster than fear. By night, there were shaky videos of the Outworld arena, a ring of light, a crowd screaming, a man in a yellow suit walking forward like he was late for something, monsters and fighters disappearing. Most videos cut out before the crack in the sky, but people felt it anyway. They felt it in the way the air looked wrong for 1 second. They felt it in the way their phones went silent for a heartbeat. They felt it in the sudden idea that maybe the world had edges, and the edges were thin. Johnny Cage sat in a chair in his own home, watching his face on screen. He had not edited this. Nobody had. It was raw and messy and too real. Under the video, comments exploded. "Who is that guy? Fake. Not fake. Look at Raiden's face. Is this a new Cage movie? Bro, that's not a stunt." Johnny rubbed his temple. "This is going to ruin my brand," he muttered. Raiden stood near the window, arms folded. He had been invited, but he did not look like a guest. He looked like a guard. Kung Lao paced. His hat sat on a table, untouched. Liu Kang stood near the doorway, calm, listening. Jairus stood beside him, as if he had always been there. Saitama sat on the couch. He was not watching the videos. He was staring at a small spot on the wall. Johnny pointed at him. "You know you're trending, right?" Saitama blinked. "What's trending?" Kung Lao stopped pacing. "He really doesn't know." Johnny threw his hands up. "He's famous, and he doesn't care. I hate him." Saitama looked at Johnny. Is being famous strong? Johnny opened his mouth, then closed it. Sometimes. Raiden's voice was quiet. People are afraid. Saitama's eyes shifted to him. Why? Raiden said. Because they watched you remove threats like they were dust. They don't know what you would do if you were angry. Saitama stared. I'm not angry. Kung Lao's voice came out rough. But you're bored. The word landed hard. Saitama looked down at his gloves. For a moment, he did not look bored. He looked tired. Yeah, he said. Johnny leaned forward slightly, curious despite himself. So what do you do when you're bored? Saitama answered like it was obvious. I train. I patrol. I help people. Kung Lao shook his head. That's the part I don't get. If you're that strong, why do any of it? Saitama's voice stayed calm, but it had weight now. Because if I don't, people get hurt. He looked up at Kung Lao. I'm bored, not stupid. Kung Lao's face tightened. He looked away again, ashamed and annoyed at the same time. Liu Kang watched Saitama carefully. He saw a simple truth. Saitama did not need praise. Saitama did not need trophies. Saitama needed purpose. And that was something villains could copy like a mask. In Outworld, the reaction was not comments and videos. It was meetings. Leaders and generals sat in high rooms with cold floors. They spoke in low voices. They argued about control and fear. One noble slapped a hand on a table. This yellow man is a threat to every realm. Another answered, or he is a shield. If Earthrealm holds him, we must not push Earthrealm into a corner. A third voice hissed, if Shang Tsung can lure him, so can others. That last idea spread like poison, not because it was smart, because it was tempting. In the temple, Sub-Zero met with Liu Kang alone. The air between them felt sharp, even though neither raised their voice. You are trusting him, Sub-Zero said. I am watching him, Liu Kang corrected, and I am treating him like a person. Sub-Zero's eyes stayed cold. Persons can become disasters. Liu Kang's gaze did not move. So can those who fear them. Sub-Zero took a slow breath. If he snaps, we will not have time to argue. Liu Kang nodded once. Then prepare. Quietly. Carefully. Sub-Zero's eyes narrowed. You agree there must be a plan. There must be a plan for everyone, Liu Kang said. Even for me. Sub-Zero did not like hearing that. It made Liu Kang sound too human. But it was true. As Sub-Zero turned to leave, Garas appeared at the hall entrance. He did not step in like a man. He appeared like the room had decided he should be there. The timeline trembles, Garas said. Liu Kang's eyes sharpened. From what? Garas spoke as if reading a report. From attention. Many minds now focus on one point. That focus pulls on the fabric. Sub-Zero's voice was quiet. Fear makes pressure. Jairus nodded. And pressure finds weak places. Liu Kang glanced toward the courtyard, where Saitama had been seen doing slow stretches. Then we must lower the pressure. Sub-Zero's jaw tightened. Or remove the point. Liu Kang's voice stayed calm. We do not remove people. Sub-Zero looked at him for a long moment, then left without another word. Shang Tsung's hidden chamber smelled like old smoke and sweet rot. He held his palm over a bowl of green flame. Inside the flame, a tiny spark flickered. It was the trace he had stolen. Not a soul, not a piece of flesh. Something stranger. It did not behave like the magic he knew. It refused to settle. It refused to obey. Shang Tsung smiled anyway. He spoke to the dark corner of the room. Come out. A shadow moved. A pale figure stepped into the light. Quan Chi's eyes looked like empty pits that had learned to smile. You called, Quan Chi said. Shang Tsung lifted his hand, showing the spark. Our guest is real. Quan Chi tilted his head. You tried to take him. I tried to listen, Shang Tsung corrected, and he refused. Quan Chi's smile widened. Good. Shang Tsung's eyes narrowed. You sound pleased. Quan Chi walked closer, looking at the spark like it was a new kind of cruelty. Because this means we stop thinking like fighters. We start thinking like hunters. Shang Tsung's voice stayed smooth. He cannot be harmed by strength. Quan Chi nodded slowly. Then we harm everything around him. Shang Tsung watched Quan Chi's face. You want to push him? I want to shape him, Quan Chi said. He is bored. That is an opening. Shang Tsung's smile returned. Ah. Quan Chi leaned in, voice soft as poison. Give him a real fight. Give him endless opponents. Give him a reason to stay. Or give him a reason to break. Shang Tsung's fingers tightened slightly over the spark. And if he breaks the realms, what do we gain? Quan Chi's eyes glinted. A world where rules are weak. A world where gods lose control. Shang Tsung laughed quietly. You speak like chaos. Quan Chi's smile did not change. Chaos listens. Chaos waits. Behind them, the green flame flickered in a strange pattern, like laughter that did not need lungs. Neither sorcerer noticed it. Or maybe, deep down, they did. Saitama stood on the temple roof at sunrise. The air was cold and clear. Mountains stood far away. The sky was clean. He liked clean skies. He started his morning routine. Push-ups, slow and steady. 1, 2, 3. Behind him, Kung Lao climbed onto the roof, trying to be quiet. He failed. His sandals scraped stone. Saitama kept counting. Kung Lao watched for a while, then finally spoke. So, this is your secret. Saitama paused at the top of a push-up. What secret? This, Kung Lao said, gesturing at the push-ups like they were ancient magic. Saitama blinked. It's just push-ups. Kung Lao frowned. But you said you became like that. Because of this. Yeah, Saitama said. Over time. Kung Lao stared hard. How long? Saitama thought. 3 years. Kung Lao's mouth opened, then closed. He did not know what to say. 3 years of simple training turning into impossible power felt wrong. It made his own life feel like a joke. Saitama went back to counting. 4, 5, 6. Kung Lao's voice came out rough. Do you ever miss being normal? Saitama stopped again. He sat up and looked at the horizon. Sometimes, he said. Kung Lao waited. Saitama's face stayed plain. It was quieter, but people still got hurt, so I can't really miss it too much. Kung Lao's throat tightened. He did not like how simple that answer was. It made him feel small, but it also made him respect Saitama more. Kung Lao looked down at his hands. When you hit someone, they vanish. How do you choose? Saitama looked at him. I don't want to kill people. Kung Lao's eyes lifted. In Mortal Kombat, killing happens. Saitama shrugged. Then I'll try not to. Kung Lao let out a breath. That might be the hardest thing anyone has tried in these realms. Saitama nodded like he agreed. Yeah. For a moment, both of them sat in silence, watching the sunrise. Then Geras's voice rose from below, sharp and sudden. Liu Kang! Saitama stood. Kung Lao followed. They looked down into the courtyard. Geras stood still, eyes on the air. The air shimmered. Not a full crack. Not a full portal. A thin ripple, like heat over stone. Liu Kang stepped out into the courtyard, calm but alert. Where? Geras pointed. There. The shimmer moved, sliding across space like a shadow that did not match the sun. Saitama stared at it. He did not feel danger to himself. He felt something else. A pressure, like a wrong note being held too long. Liu Kang's voice was quiet. Someone is testing the boundary. Saitama leaned forward slightly. Can I punch it? Kung Lao's eyes widened. Do not punch reality. Saitama blinked. Okay. The shimmer stopped. It trembled once, like it had noticed Saitama noticing it. Then it faded. Garrus's voice turned colder. It fled. Liu Kang's eyes narrowed. It learned. Saitama looked at his fist, then at the place where the shimmer had been. His boredom returned, but it had a new shape now. It was not empty. It was pointed. Someone's messing with stuff, he said. Liu Kang nodded. Yes. Saitama looked at him. Then I'm going to stop them. Sub-Zero's voice came from the edge of the courtyard. Good. Liu Kang glanced at Sub-Zero. Not alone. Saitama sighed. Fine. And as the morning warmed, the temple felt like it was holding its breath. Because the game had changed again. Not because Saitama had been beaten, but because Saitama had decided to act first. The next day, Saitama asked a question that made everyone stare. I want to learn technique, he said. Johnny blinked hard. From who? Us? Saitama looked at him. Do you know technique? Johnny opened his mouth, then pointed at himself. I know. Camera technique. Saitama nodded. No. Raiden's eyes sharpened. You want training? Saitama nodded once. Punching harder doesn't help. It just makes more problems. Kung Lao's face tightened. You're saying you want to punch softer. Saitama's eyes stayed plain. I want to punch right. Liu Kang watched him with careful respect. Then we begin with discipline. He led them to a place where Earthrealm's fighters trained in this new era. A clean yard, simple walls, wooden poles, stone targets, no fancy banners. It was a place where effort mattered. Raiden looked proud to be there. Kung Lao looked nervous. Sub-Zero looked like he was measuring exits. Scorpion stood near the fence, arms folded, quiet as heat under stone. Liu Kang said, Technique is control. Control begins in the mind. Saitama nodded like he understood. Okay. Liu Kang stepped back. Scorpion. Raiden. Kung Lao. Show him basics. Kung Lao's mouth opened. Me? Raiden smiled slightly. We can try. Scorpion said nothing, but he moved forward. He showed Saitama a stance. Feet set. Weight balanced. Hands ready. Saitama looked at it. Then he stood. Normally. Kung Lao frowned. That's not it. Saitama blinked. It feels weird? Raiden tried. It helps with balance. Saitama shrugged. I don't fall over. Scorpion's voice finally came, low and firm. You are not here because you fall. You are here because you must choose how you strike. Saitama stared at him. Yeah. Scorpion's gaze sharpened. Then copy it. Saitama looked again. He tried the stance. It looked wrong at first, like a tall guy wearing shoes that were too small, but he adjusted. Slowly. Calmly. Kung Lao watched, surprised. He's actually trying, Johnny whispered. That's the scariest thing I've heard all week. They trained. Raiden showed footwork. Kung Lao showed timing and angles. Scorpion showed patience. Sub-Zero did not teach. He observed. He watched Saitama's body and the tiny changes in movement. Because even without effort, Saitama's control was already terrifying. Saitama missed a block on purpose to learn how it felt. He took a light hit from Raiden's palm and nodded. Okay. He tried a slow counter, stopping his fist 1 inch from Raiden's face. The air still jumped. Raiden's hair fluttered. His eyes widened. Kung Lao swallowed. That was slow. Saitama looked at his fist like it had betrayed him. I tried. Scorpion spoke, calm. Try again. Saitama did. This time he stopped even earlier. The air barely moved. Raiden exhaled. Better. Saitama nodded. Okay. He looked almost interested. And that made everyone in the yard feel a strange thing. Hope. In the shadows beyond the yard, a monk ran across the courtyard entrance, face pale. He bowed quickly to Liu Kang. Fire God. Something is wrong at the lower shrine. Liu Kang's eyes sharpened. Explain. The monk's voice shook. We heard screams. Then the air turned cold. A mirror in the shrine. It changed. Garros appeared at Liu Kang's side, as if pulled by the word, changed. A mirror. Sub-Zero's posture tightened. A gateway. Scorpion's eyes narrowed, old anger stirring. Netherrealm. Saitama blinked. What's Netherrealm? Kung Lao said, voice tight. A bad place, Johnny added. Like Outworld, but with worse lighting. Liu Kang turned to Saitama. This is not training anymore. Saitama nodded. Okay. They moved fast. The lower shrine sat near the edge of the temple grounds. It was simple. A small building with a stone path, lanterns, and a single tall mirror inside, used for old rituals of focus and reflection. When they entered, the mirror was not reflecting the room. It showed something else. A corridor of black stone. Chains. Green light crawling like insects. A cold wind poured out, smelling like ash. A hand reached through the mirror. Not a human hand. A long hand. Pale and thin. Then the mirror widened into a doorway. A figure stepped out. Quan Chi. He smiled like he had been invited. Monks backed away, terrified. Liu Kang stepped forward, flame rising. Quan Chi. Quan Chi spread his hands. Fire god, always so protective. Scorpion's body went tense, like a blade being pulled halfway out of its sheath. Sub-Zero's voice was cold. State your purpose. Quan Chi's eyes slid past them and landed on Saitama. His smile widened. You, Quan Chi said softly, tasting the word. You are the crack. Saitama blinked. I'm Saitama. Quan Chi tilted his head. A name. How small, how harmless. Saitama stared back. Why are you in our temple? Quan Chi's smile did not move. To offer a path. Liu Kang's voice sharpened. Leave. Quan Chi's eyes flicked to the mirrored doorway behind him. Not yet. I have brought a lesson. He snapped his fingers. The shrine shook. The mirror doorway widened and shadows poured out. Not simple monsters. Shapes that looked like warriors made of smoke and bone. Their eyes burned green. Their movements were sharp and practiced. Revenants. Scorpion's breath caught. Old pain and anger rose in his chest like fire. Kung Lao stepped back, hat ready. Raiden raised his hands, lightning sparking. Saitama looked at the shadows, then sighed. Quan Chi watched him closely, hungry for reaction. Do you feel it? This is a realm that understands endless fighting. Saitama glanced at him. Do you control these guys? Quan Chi smiled. Yes, Saitama nodded once. Okay, stop. Quan Chi laughed quietly. Make me. The revenants rushed in. Raiden struck first, lightning cracking across the room. 2 revenants fell, but they did not stay down. They twisted and rose, like smoke pulled back into shape. Kung Lao's hat sliced through another, but it only broke apart and reformed. Sub-Zero froze the floor, trying to slow them, but the cold did not kill what was already dead. Scorpion moved like a flame, chains snapping, pulling one revenant close and smashing it into the wall. It reformed anyway. Saitama watched for 1 second, then he stepped forward. He punched a revenant. It vanished. Not reformed. Not rose. Gone. The room went still for half a heartbeat, even in the middle of chaos. Quan Chi's eyes widened. Not fear. Interest. Good, Quan Chi whispered. So the rule holds. Saitama turned, annoyed. What rule? Quan Chi pointed at the mirror doorway. In Netherrealm, death is a tool. Souls are currency. You can erase my tools, but every erasure shakes the shelf they sit on. As if to prove his point, the shrine trembled. A thin crack formed along the mirror's frame. Jarrus's voice cut through the noise. He's right. The boundary weakens. Saitama frowned. So if I punch too hard, the door breaks? Liu Kang's eyes narrowed. And if the door breaks, Netherrealm spills into Earthrealm. Saitama stared at the doorway, then at the monks pressed against the wall. He saw their fear. He saw the way Raiden and Kung Lao were holding the line for them. His face flattened into focus. "Okay," Saitama said. "Then I'll punch less." Johnny yelled from behind a pillar. "That's the smartest thing anyone said in this franchise." Saitama moved again. This time, he did not punch the revenants. He tapped them. A finger to the forehead, a palm to the chest, a light push. Each touch was controlled like a teacher correcting posture. The revenants flew back, slammed into walls, and stayed down for a few seconds longer. Not because they were dead, because they were stunned. Quan Chi's smile shifted. It turned sharper. Control. Yes. He raised both hands. Green chains of magic shot from his fingers and aimed at the monks. Not to kill. To grab. To drag them through the mirror doorway. Liu Kang lunged, fire flaring, blocking the chains. But the chains split, like snakes, slipping around him. Saitama saw the chains. He moved. He did not punch the chains. He did not punch Quan Chi. He stepped between the chains and the monks and clapped his hands together lightly. The air popped. The chains snapped as if cut by invisible scissors. Quan Chi's eyes widened again. Saitama stared at him. "Stop kidnapping people." Quan Chi's voice stayed calm, but it held excitement now. "You care?" Saitama blinked. "Yeah." Quan Chi stepped backward toward the mirror doorway. "Then follow." He smiled once more and dropped into the doorway like sinking into water. The revenants surged again, trying to block the path. Scorpion snarled, rage finally breaking through. "No!" He jumped toward the doorway. Liu Kang grabbed his arm. "Not alone!" Scorpion yanked free. "He will not take more!" Sub-Zero moved instantly, flanking. "We go together." Raiden and Kung Lao followed, and Saitama stepped after them, like this was a normal walk to a job. Johnny shouted, "Do I go?" Liu Kang looked at him. "Stay." Johnny pointed at himself. "Finally. A role I can handle." The doorway pulsed. Cold air spilled out, and they crossed into Netherrealm. The first thing Saitama noticed was the smell. Ash. Old smoke. Metal that had been burned too many times. The second thing was the sky. There wasn't one. Above them was a ceiling of darkness, broken by red light like distant fires behind walls. They stood on a bridge of black stone. Below was nothing. Then far below, lava light glowing like angry eyes. Chains hung from tall pillars. Some chains were broken. Some chains were still tight, as if holding something unseen. Kung Lao swallowed. "I hate this place." Raiden's voice was tight. "Stay close." Scorpion's hands clenched. His breathing was controlled, but his anger sat right under his skin. Sub-Zero's eyes scanned the path. "This is a funnel. He wants us here." Garrus's voice came quietly from behind them. "Yes." Saitama looked around. "So, this is Netherrealm." Liu Kang nodded. "Yes." Saitama stared at the bridge ahead. "Okay." He took a step forward. The bridge groaned, like it did not like being walked on. They moved fast, following the faint trail of green light. Quan Chi wanted them to chase, so they did, because monks were still in danger. Ahead, they found a chamber shaped like a broken cathedral. Tall arches, cracked floor, green flame in iron bowls. The monks were there. They were trapped inside a circle of glowing runes, kneeling, shaking, alive but held. Quan Chi stood above them on a raised platform, hands behind his back, like a host welcoming guests. He smiled at Liu Kang. "You came." Liu Kang stepped forward, fire rising. "Release them!" Quan Chi's smile widened. "Soon." Scorpion's voice was low, shaking. "Now." Quan Chi looked at Scorpion, amused. Always angry, always useful. Scorpion's chain snapped forward like a strike. Quan Chi lifted one hand. The chain stopped midair, held by green magic. Scorpion's eyes burned. He pulled harder, but the chain did not move. Quan Chi's gaze slid to Saitama. "And you," he said. "Do you feel it? The truth of this place?" Saitama looked at the monks. "I feel you're annoying." Quan Chi laughed softly. "Simple. Good." He raised both hands. The chamber shook. From the floor, shapes crawled up. Not revenants this time. Bigger things. Creatures with thick bodies, armored skin, and mouths full of teeth. They looked like they were made from pieces of different nightmares. The air around them twisted, like the realm was proud of them. Kung Lao whispered, "Those are not normal." Raiden's hand sparked. "Protect the monks." Sub-Zero's breath turned to mist. "We end this fast." Scorpion's eyes stayed locked on Quan Chi. Saitama stepped forward. Then he stopped. He remembered what Quan Chi had said back at the shrine. Every erasure shakes the shelf. He looked at the floor. He looked at the runes holding the monks. He looked at the cracks in the stone. He could feel it now. The realm was fragile here. If he punched like he usually punched, he could knock the whole room apart like a thin box. He sighed. "Okay," he said. "Small punches." The first monster charged. Saitama met it with a simple palm strike, not a full punch. The monster flew sideways, slammed into a pillar, and stayed there, stunned, eyes rolling. The second monster came from above, leaping down like a falling boulder. Saitama stepped aside and tapped its knee. Its leg snapped the wrong way. It crashed down, stuck. The third monster tried to bite. Saitama flicked its forehead. It flew backward, as if a truck hit it, but it did not vanish. It hit the wall and slumped. Raiden stared, shocked. "He's disabling them." Kung Lao whispered, "He can do that." Sub-Zero's eyes narrowed. "He is choosing." Quan Chi watched with growing interest, like a scientist seeing a new reaction. "Yes," Quan Chi said softly. "Control, restraint, morality." He lifted his hand and pointed at the monks. The runes tightened. The monks cried out in pain. Liu Kang's flame flared. "Stop!" Quan Chi's smile turned cold. "No!" Saitama's eyes snapped to the monks. His calm did not break, but something in his body shifted, like a lock clicking. He stepped toward the rune circle. The circle flared bright green, reacting to him like an alarm. The floor trembled. Thin cracks spread outward from the circle, like spiderweb lines. Garrus's voice sharpened. "Do not strike the runes. The boundary—" "I know," Saitama said. He crouched. Then he did something nobody expected. He placed his fingers on the stone beside the rune line and pushed, slowly, as if he was moving a heavy table. The stone did not resist him. It resisted reality. The rune line warped, not broken, shifted. The circle's shape changed. The monks gasped as the pressure on them loosened. Quan Chi's eyes widened. "Interesting." Liu Kang stared, surprised. "He is moving the seal without shattering." Saitama kept pushing. The rune circle slid, like paint being dragged across a floor. A gap opened. The monks crawled out, coughing, alive. Raiden and Kung Lao rushed to them, shielding them. Quan Chi's smile returned, sharp again. "So you can solve problems without destruction?" Saitama stood and dusted his gloves. "Yeah." Quan Chi stepped down from the platform, slow and calm. "Then let us talk." Scorpion's voice was a growl. "Do not speak to him." Quan Chi ignored Scorpion. He looked straight at Saitama. "You are bored. You crave challenge. This realm is endless conflict, endless opponents, endless reason." Saitama blinked. "I don't crave conflict." Quan Chi's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do you not?" Saitama answered honestly. "I want a good fight sometimes, but I don't want people to get hurt." Quan Chi spread his hands. Then choose a world where hurt is normal, where your punches mean something again. Saitama stared at him. That's stupid. Quan Chi laughed, but it did not sound happy. Is it? Or is it honest? He lifted one hand. The air behind Saitama shimmered. A vision opened, like a window. Inside the window was a battlefield, filled with strong enemies. Giants, monsters, warriors with glowing weapons. They attacked in waves, never ending. It was like an answer made of violence. Saitama's eyes focused. For the first time since arriving in these realms, he looked awake. Not excited. Interested. Quan Chi's smile grew. Yes, you feel it. That pull. That maybe. Saitama stared at the window. Then he looked away. He looked at the monks, scared and exhausted. He looked at Raiden, standing with protective tension. He looked at Kung Lao, trying to act brave. He looked at Liu Kang, holding fire, but also holding restraint. Then Saitama looked back at Quan Chi. No, he said. Quan Chi's smile stayed, but his eyes hardened. Why? Because it's a trick, Saitama said, calm. And because you're hurting people to get my attention. Quan Chi tilted his head. And if hurting people is the only language these realms speak? Saitama's voice stayed simple. Then I'll speak a different one. Quan Chi's eyes flicked, annoyed now. You are not as empty as you seem. Saitama shrugged. I'm empty. Not evil. For a moment, even Scorpion looked surprised by how clean that line was. Quan Chi stepped back, face tightening. Very well. He raised both hands. Green lightning crawled across the floor. The chamber shook again, harder. The cracks in the stone widened. The dark ceiling above them rippled like water. Something moved in that ripple. Not a creature. A presence, like laughter without a mouth. Jiras's face changed, just barely. That presence, Liu Kang's eyes narrowed. Havoc. A voice echoed through the chamber. It did not come from Quan Chi. It came from the cracks. It sounded like joy and cruelty mixed together. Rules, the voice said, dragging the word out. So many rules. The cracks widened, and for 1 second, Saitama saw something behind them. A figure, distorted, like a man seen through broken glass. A grin, a sense of hunger for disorder. Quan Chi looked up, surprised for the first time. This was not my doing. The voice laughed. Of course not. You are only a hand. I am the itch. Liu Kang stepped forward, fire flaring brighter. Havoc, leave. The laughter did not stop. You made a perfect clock, Fire God. So neat. So careful. And then, a man walks in who does not fit. Saitama stared at the cracks. Who's that? Kung Lao whispered. A big problem. The voice continued, warm with delight. If he punches, the clock breaks. Quan Chi's eyes widened slowly as he understood. You want him to break it. The voice hummed. I want him to choose. The cracks shuddered again. The floor buckled. A wave of chaos energy rolled through the chamber like a hard wind. Monks screamed. Raiden and Kung Lao shielded them. Sub-Zero braced, ice spreading under his feet to hold the ground. Scorpion's chain snapped out, anchoring into a pillar, holding him steady. Saitama stood still. His cape fluttered. His eyes narrowed. He could feel the pressure now. This was not about killing him. This was about making him the hammer that smashed the room. The voice laughed again. Come on, one punch. Fix it like you fix everything. Saitama took a slow breath. He remembered the arena. He remembered the crack snapping shut when he punched the floor instead of the man. He looked at the stone beneath him. He looked at the cracks that were spreading like lines on broken ice. Then he did something strange. He stepped forward and placed his fist in front of the largest crack. Not on it. Near it. He punched the air next to it, fast but controlled. The air hit the crack sideways like a shove. The crack snapped inward, closing slightly, like a mouth being forced shut. Everyone froze for half a second. Liu Kang's eyes widened. He struck the pressure, not the stone. Geras's voice was quiet. He is learning. Quan Chi stared, annoyed now, because the trap had turned into training. Saitama punched again. 3 quick strikes around the crack. Each punch was small. Each punch pushed the chaos energy back. The chamber steadied, not fully, but enough. The voice's laughter shifted. It sounded pleased. Yes, it purred. Yes, he can hold back. Saitama looked up at the ripple above. Stop messing with the room. The voice laughed. No. A new crack opened to the side, and something crawled through. Not a monster. A concept made into a shape. A twisted thing that looked like a warrior and a worm at the same time. It moved wrong, bending in ways bones should not bend. Raiden struck it with lightning. The lightning hit it, and bent around it, like it refused to decide what to do. Sub-Zero froze it. The ice cracked and slid off, like the creature was slippery to reality. Scorpion's chain wrapped it and pulled. The chain went taut, then snapped. Scorpion's eyes widened. He had not expected his chain to fail. Saitama stepped in. He raised his fist. Everyone tensed, because this was the moment. If he erased it, the room might shake again. If he held back too much, the monks might die. Saitama punched once, straight into the creature's center. He did not erase it. He did something else. He compressed it. The creature folded in on itself like a piece of paper being crushed into a ball. Then Saitama grabbed the crushed mass and threw it through the mirror doorway behind Quan Chi. It vanished into the corridor. The chamber did not crack further. Quan Chi stumbled back, shocked and angry. You used it as debris. Saitama looked at him. It was trying to hurt people. Quan Chi's face tightened. He lifted his hands, ready to strike again. Liu Kang stepped forward, flame roaring. Enough! Quan Chi hesitated, not because he feared Liu Kang, because the presence in the cracks was watching, and Quan Chi did not like being a puppet. He stepped back slowly, eyes locked on Saitama. This is not finished. Saitama sighed. Can you stop saying that? Quan Chi's lips curled. No. He snapped his fingers, and the mirror doorway behind him surged. A pull formed, trying to drag everyone toward it. A retreat trick. A trap. Saitama felt the pull. His feet slid 1 inch. He frowned, annoyed. Then he stepped forward, against the pull, like walking against a strong fan. He reached the doorway and placed his palm against the air in front of it. He pushed. The doorway shrank. Quan Chi's eyes widened. He pushed back with magic. The doorway trembled. Cracks formed again, thin and dangerous. Geras's voice sharpened. If it collapses wrong, Liu Kang stepped in beside Saitama, flame turning into a controlled ring of light. Together, Liu Kang said. Saitama glanced at him. Okay. Liu Kang shaped the flame like a frame, steadying the edge of the doorway, giving the realm a clean line to follow. Saitama pushed at the center, not punching, just compressing the space. The doorway narrowed to a slit. Quan Chi hissed, furious. He slipped through the slit like smoke. The slit snapped shut behind him. The shrine mirror was no longer a doorway. It was a mirror again. The chamber steadied. The cracks in the stone stopped spreading. For a moment, everyone just breathed. Kung Lao leaned against a pillar, sweat on his brow. We lived. Raiden looked at Saitama like he was seeing him for the first time again. You held back, and still controlled it. Scorpion's hand slowly unclenched. His anger did not vanish, but it settled, like a blade going back into its sheath. Sub-Zero's eyes stayed narrow. He did not like surprises, and Saitama was an endless surprise. Geras stared at the mirror, then at Saitama. The scar remains. Saitama blinked. What scar? Jairus pointed at the air. It looked normal. But if you stared long enough, you could see a faint shimmer where the doorway had been. A thin weakness. A reminder. Liu Kang's voice was quiet. Quan Chi wanted you to solve the problem with destruction. Saitama looked down at his hands. Yeah. Liu Kang continued. Instead, you solved it with control. Saitama shrugged. I just didn't want the monks to get hurt. The monks bowed deeply, shaking, grateful. Saitama looked awkward. You're welcome. Then his eyes drifted to the mirror. He could still feel it. Something behind the cracks. That laughing presence. It had not been stopped. It had been entertained. And somewhere, far away, Shang Tsung held his little spark above green flame and felt the air twitch. His smile returned, because now he knew something important. The strange man in the yellow suit could be baited, not with pain, with meaning. And deeper than all of that, behind the thin scar in reality, the chaos laughter lingered like a promise. Saitama stepped out into the cold nether-realm air that still clung to their clothes and asked the simplest question in the middle of this mess. So, can I finish my run now? Kung Lao stared at him. You went to hell, and you're thinking about your run? Saitama nodded. I didn't finish yesterday. Raiden let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. He really is like this. Liu Kang looked at Saitama, and for the first time in days, his expression softened. Because the realms were shaking. Villains were planning. Rules were bending. But this man still cared about doing one simple thing the right way. And that meant the story of these realms had changed. Not because Saitama was unstoppable, because Saitama was choosing what kind of unstoppable he would be. Weeks passed, not the kind of weeks that felt peaceful, the kind that felt like a room full of people holding their breath. The temple went back to its normal sounds. Training strikes, footsteps on stone, quiet prayers. But now there was always an extra feeling in the air, like a thin wire pulled tight. Saitama woke up early anyway. He stood outside in the cold morning, stretched his arms, and started his run. He ran around the temple grounds first, then farther, down the paths toward the hills. His cape flapped behind him, and the monks stared like they were watching a comet. Kung Lao tried to follow once. He made it 3 minutes before he had to stop, bent over, hands on knees, breathing hard. Saitama slowed and looked back. You okay? Kung Lao wheezed. How are you? Not tired? Saitama blinked. This is the easy part. That became the new normal. The strongest fighters in the realms trained like their lives depended on it, because now they understood something simple and painful. Effort mattered. Even when it did not make you the strongest, it made you better than you were yesterday. Raiden pushed himself until his hands shook. Kung Lao practiced his hat throws until his fingers bled. Scorpion drilled the same chain motions again and again, perfecting control. Sub-Zero worked with fewer moves, more precision, like he was cutting the world into clean shapes. And Saitama did push-ups on the roof, like it was the most serious thing in the universe. Jairus watched time. He stood in his quiet place and felt the scar they had sealed. It did not grow every day. Some days it stayed still. Other days it trembled. Those were the days Jairus looked toward Earthrealm and whispered a warning. Their attention returns. Because fear was not a monster you punched. It was a force that pulled. Even if nobody saw the scar, people felt something was wrong. In Earthrealm cities, there were rumors of realm storms, lights flickering, mirrors fogging, cold wind blowing through closed windows. Some blamed ghosts, some blamed aliens, some blamed Johnny Cage, because that was easier. Johnny tried to laugh it off on television. He stood on a studio stage, smiling too wide. Look, folks, I don't know what you saw online, but I can tell you one thing. If I could erase monsters with my fist, I would have erased my last movie review." The audience laughed, but the laugh sounded nervous. Back at the temple, Johnny stopped joking the moment he stepped off camera. He found Saitama sitting on a stone step, staring at the sky. Johnny sat beside him, quieter than usual. "You okay?" Saitama blinked. "Yeah." Johnny waited. Saitama added, "I did my run, so." "Yeah." Johnny snorted. "That's your whole emotional system, huh?" Saitama looked at him. "What's yours?" Johnny opened his mouth, then closed it. He sighed. "Fair." They sat in silence. Then Johnny said softly, "People are scared of you." Saitama stared ahead. "I know." "You don't look mad about it," Johnny said. "I'm not mad," Saitama answered. "It's just annoying." Johnny nodded. "Welcome to being famous." Saitama turned his head. "You said famous isn't strong." Johnny shrugged. "It's not, but it can still ruin your day." Saitama stared at the sky again. "I don't want to ruin anyone's day." Johnny's voice turned serious. "Then keep doing what you're doing." Saitama blinked. "Running?" Johnny smiled a little. "Choosing." Liu Kang did not rest either. He walked the temple halls at night, checking wards and seals. He spoke with monks. He listened to reports from Earth Realm and beyond. He watched faces. He watched fear. He also watched Saitama. Not like a guard watching a prisoner. Like a leader watching a storm cloud. Not because he hated the cloud. Because the cloud could bring rain on the wrong village. One evening, Garrus joined him at the open courtyard. "The scar trembles more often," Garrus said. Liu Kang's eyes narrowed. "From what?" Garrus's voice stayed steady. "From a pattern. Someone tests it. Not with force, with intent." Liu Kang breathed out slowly. "Shang Tsung." Garrus did not confirm, but his silence was an answer. Liu Kang looked up at the sky. The stars were clear, too calm for the danger hiding behind them. "Where is he moving?" Liu Kang asked. Garrus's eyes flicked, like he was reading invisible lines. "He is avoiding your gaze. He is using small actions, small acts, many places." Liu Kang's jaw tightened. "He is spreading pressure." Garrus nodded once. "And the pressure seeks weak places." Liu Kang turned toward the training yard. He could see silhouettes. Raiden practicing steps, Kung Lao throwing his hat, Scorpion standing still like a statue, Sub-Zero watching everything. And on the roof, Saitama doing push-ups. Liu Kang's voice lowered. "If Shang Tsung cannot harm him, he will try to shape him." Garrus's eyes stayed fixed on the roof. "And he will try to use him as a tool." Liu Kang clenched his fist, then forced it to relax. "Not if I reach him first." Shang Tsung's new chamber was not in Outworld's courts anymore. He had learned something about gods. They looked for big moves. They watched thrones and armies. So Shang Tsung stopped using thrones. He used basements, ruins, caves, and forgotten temples, where old magic still remembered its hunger. A green flame burned in front of him. Above it floated the tiny spark he had stolen. It still refused to settle. It still refused to obey. That made Shang Tsung happy. Quan Chi stood nearby, arms folded, eyes half-lidded with cold amusement. "You are still staring at it," Quan Chi said. Shang Tsung smiled. "Because it is still staring back." Quan Chi's mouth curled. "It is not a soul." "No," Shang Tsung agreed. "It is a rule break." Quan Chi tilted his head. "And what do you do with a rule break?" Shang Tsung lifted a hand. The spark pulsed, like it was breathing. "You do not bind it," Shang Tsung said. "You give it a reason to move." Quan Chi's eyes narrowed. "You want to bait him." Shang Tsung's smile widened. "I want to invite him." Quan Chi gave a soft laugh. "He does not want your invitation." Shang Tsung's eyes gleamed. "Then I will invite what he wants." Quan Chi watched him closely. And what does he want? Shang Tsung looked away from the spark and smiled at the darkness. A fight, he said softly. A real one. Quan Chi's smile returned. And if he cannot find it, he may accept yours. Shang Tsung's fingers flexed. And while he fights, the scar widens. Quan Chi's voice dropped. And while the scar widens, chaos listens. The green flame flickered, and for a moment the shadow behind it looked like a grin. Neither sorcerer pretended they did not see it. Shang Tsung picked up a carved piece of black stone, covered in runes. It was not the hourglass, not a titan tool. It was smaller, sharper, like a key. He placed the spark onto it. The runes lit up, then screamed, then went silent again, like the stone had swallowed the spark. Quan Chi's eyes widened slightly. You made a latch, Shang Tsung nodded. A latch for a door that wants to open. Quan Chi's smile became cruel. Then open it somewhere. Crowded. Shang Tsung chuckled. Of course. The realm storm hit at noon. Earthrealm was bright and busy. A city street full of people. Markets, cars, music from open doors. Then the air turned cold. Mirrors and shop windows fogged in 1 second. A crack appeared above an intersection. Thin, sharp, and wrong. People stopped. They stared. Somebody screamed. From the crack, things fell. Not Saitama this time. Pieces of Netherrealm spilled out like trash thrown from a high balcony. Bone masks, chains, smoke that moved like it had muscles. A creature dropped next, then another. They hit the road and stood up. Revenants, mixed with something else. Something that did not belong to death or life. Something that bent in strange angles and laughed without sound. The crowd ran. A bus crashed into a pole. Glass shattered. A child fell near the curb and froze, too scared to move. A revenant turned and started walking toward the child. Raiden arrived first, lightning cracking around him as he landed on the asphalt. He moved like a trained defender, not like a showman. He grabbed the child, lifted her behind him, and faced the revenant. Back, he said. The revenant did not listen. Kung Lao dropped in from above, hat spinning. He cut through one attacker, then cursed when it started reforming. "They keep coming!" he shouted. Sub-Zero arrived next, ice spreading across the road to slow the creatures. Scorpion appeared in a burst of heat, chains snapping out, pulling one monster away from civilians. Johnny Cage arrived last, not because he was slow, because he stopped to grab a camera guy. "Film this," Johnny yelled, "but film it from my good side." Nobody laughed, because then the crack in the sky widened, and the scar they had sealed at the temple responded. Far away, in the temple courtyard, Geras stiffened like a bell being struck. Liu Kang's eyes went hard. "It's now," Liu Kang said. Saitama was on the roof, mid-push-up. He stopped, looked toward the horizon, and felt it. Not danger. Noise. A wrong vibration in reality. He stood up. "We should go." Liu Kang nodded. "Yes." Saitama jumped. He did not fly like a god. He simply left the roof, and the air blurred around him, and he was gone. Liu Kang followed in a burst of controlled flame, not scorching anything, moving like a calm comet. Geras vanished, slipping into the flow of time itself. Saitama arrived above the city street. He saw everything in one glance. The crack, the monsters, the civilians running. Raiden and Kung Lao holding the line. Sub-Zero and Scorpion trying to keep the attackers away from people. He also saw something else. A pattern. The crack was not random. It had shape, like a wound held open by a hook. Saitama landed in the street. A revenant turned toward him, sensing the biggest presence. It rushed. Saitama stepped to the side and tapped it on the back of the head. It flew into a wall and stayed down. He did not erase it. He looked up at the crack again. A laugh echoed, faint but clear. Not in the air. In the bones of the world. Saitama frowned. That guy again. Liu Kang appeared beside him, flame low and controlled, eyes scanning. This is not only Quan Chi, Liu Kang said. This is a device. Saitama glanced around. Where? Garrus appeared on the roof of a nearby building, staring at a point near the intersection. Below! Sub-Zero shouted from across the street. There! He pointed at a sewer cover that was glowing green, runes burning through metal like heat through paper. Shang Tsung's latch. It was anchored under the street, feeding on fear, feeding on attention, feeding on the crack. Saitama started walking toward it. A twisted chaos creature dropped from the crack, landing in front of him. It moved wrong. Its limbs bent like a broken doll that still wanted to run. It lunged. Saitama raised his fist. Then he stopped. He remembered Netherrealm. He remembered the shelves shaking. He looked past the creature to the people trapped behind cars, trying to escape. He lowered his fist slightly. Then he punched the air next to the creature. The pressure wave hit it sideways and slammed it into the pavement. It did not vanish. It did not reform instantly. It stayed down, twitching, like it had been put to sleep. Saitama blinked. Okay, that works. Liu Kang's eyes narrowed with focus. We need to close the crack without tearing the street apart. Garrus's voice carried from above. If the latch breaks violently, the crack may jump to another weak place. Sub-Zero called out. Then we disable it. Scorpion's chain snapped out, trying to hook the glowing sewer cover. The chain touched the glow and jerked back, as if burned. Scorpion growled. Sorcery! Liu Kang stepped forward. Flame formed a thin ring around his hand, like a controlled tool. He placed his palm near the glow without touching it. I can soften the edges, Liu Kang said, but something must push the crack shut. Saitama looked up. I can do that. Liu Kang met his gaze. Without breaking it. Saitama nodded once. Yeah. The laughter deepened. The crack widened again, like it heard them making a plan and decided to interrupt. A shape pressed against it from the other side. Not a creature. A person-shaped force, warped and smiling. A titan presence that felt like someone trying to pull the seams apart just to see what happened. Havok's voice slid into the street like oil. Look at you, it said, delighted. Trying to be careful. People who could hear it clutched their heads. Some fell to their knees, crying without knowing why. Johnny Cage, shaking, still tried to stand tall. Okay, that voice is not union approved. Saitama looked up at the crack. Hey, stop! Havok laughed. Stop? Why would I stop? You are the best part of this. Liu Kang's flame brightened slightly, anger controlled. You will not take my realm, Havok's voice purred. You already made it a clock, fire god. So neat. So strict. And then he arrived. The voice focused on Saitama. And you, Havok said. You are bored. You want something real. Something that does not break in one hit. Saitama's eyes narrowed. I want people to be safe. Havok hummed, amused. Safety is a cage. Let it crack. Let it shatter. Then you will feel alive. Saitama stared at the crack. For 1 second, he felt that old pull. Not toward evil. Toward the idea of finally not being bored. Then he looked down. A little girl was hiding behind a car tire, hands over her ears, eyes wide. Raiden was trying to shield her and fight at the same time. Saitama's face went flat again. No, he said. Havok's laughter softened, like a whisper in the ear. You can end this with one punch. You know you can. Saitama answered in a calm voice that sounded almost tired. Yeah. And then what happens to everyone else? Havok paused, not because it was afraid, because it did not like the question. Saitama looked at Liu Kang. Tell me what to do. Liu Kang's eyes sharpened. We make a frame. We push the pressure back into the crack. Then Geras seals the moment. Geras's voice came from above, steady. I can hold the timeline still for a breath. Not longer. Saitama nodded. Okay. Liu Kang moved to the glowing sewer cover. He lowered his flame into it like a careful blade sliding into a lock. The runes hissed. The street did not melt. Liu Kang's face tightened with effort, but he did not shout. He just held control. Now, Liu Kang said. Saitama stepped into the intersection beneath the crack. He did not look at the monsters anymore. He looked at the seam of reality itself. He raised his fist. Havok's voice brightened, excited. Yes, do it! Saitama punched upward, but not into the crack. He punched the air around it. One punch to the left side, one to the right, one below. Each strike was fast, clean, and controlled. Each strike shoved the chaos pressure inward, like hands pushing a door. The crack trembled. It started to narrow. Havok's laughter turned sharp. No! Geras's eyes flashed. Time thickened for one heartbeat. Everything slowed. Dust hung in the air like frozen snow. A scream from the crack stalled in Saitama's ears like a stuck record. Liu Kang's flame tightened, turning the latch into a clean line. Saitama saw the moment, the exact moment where the seam could close without snapping somewhere else. He moved, not a big punch, a small, exact one, a single tap of pressure into the center of the crack. The crack snapped shut. The sound was not loud. It was quiet, like a book closing. The cold air vanished. The street's light steadied. Time released, and the world rushed back into motion. The monsters in the street staggered as if their strings had been cut. Sub-Zero froze them cleanly. Scorpion smashed them down. Raiden struck the last standing one with lightning and it fell, finally still. People screamed, then realized they were alive, and screamed again for a different reason. Johnny Cage dropped to one knee, panting. He looked at Saitama like he had just watched the sky get repaired. You just punched the world closed, Johnny whispered. Saitama blinked. I guess. Liu Kang stepped back from the sewer cover, face pale with effort. The glow faded. The latch's runes went dark. But as the light died, a thin green wisp slipped away from it, like a snake fleeing a crushed cage. Geras's eyes narrowed. It escaped. Liu Kang's jaw tightened. Shang Tsung. As if on cue, a green portal flickered at the far end of the street, behind a row of abandoned cars. Shang Tsung stood there, smiling politely, as if he had come to congratulate them. Quan Chi stood beside him, expression cold and annoyed. Shang Tsung offered a small bow. Magnificent. Liu Kang's flame rose. You endangered civilians? Shang Tsung's smile did not change. And yet, you saved them. The crowd will remember that. Your guest is a hero now. Saitama looked at Shang Tsung. You did this? Shang Tsung's eyes gleamed. I invited possibility. Saitama frowned. That's a dumb way to say I tried to hurt people. Quan Chi's lips curled. He speaks plainly. I hate it. Shang Tsung's gaze slid to Saitama again. You are learning control. Fascinating. You are making yourself smaller. Saitama stared. I'm not making myself smaller. I know, Shang Tsung said softly. You are making your choices bigger. Havok's laughter echoed faintly again, like it was clapping. Good, Havok purred. Very good. Liu Kang's eyes sharpened. Havok, you will not use him. Havok's voice, now quieter, sounded amused. Use him? I do not need to. He is already doing what I love. Saitama looked up at the sky again, annoyed. Can you shut up? Havok laughed, then faded, like a radio being turned down. Shang Tsung spread his hands. We will meet again. Saitama took one step toward him. The air shifted. Not because Saitama attacked, because everyone thought he might. Shang Tsung's smile twitched. He backed into the portal at once. Quan Chi slipped with him. They vanished. The street stayed quiet, except for people crying and laughing and hugging each other, because they were alive. Raiden walked toward Saitama, breathing hard. He bowed his head slightly. "You chose restraint," Raiden said. Saitama blinked. "Yeah, the kid was there." Kung Lao stepped closer, eyes serious now, not jealous. "You could have ended them." Saitama nodded. "Yeah." "And you didn't," Kung Lao said. "Because you didn't want the world to break." Saitama looked at his hands. "I don't want to break stuff." Liu Kang stepped forward, voice calm but heavy. "This is what they will keep trying. They will keep making situations where the easy answer is the dangerous one." Saitama glanced at him. "So I keep choosing the harder one." Liu Kang's eyes softened. "Yes." Garrus's voice came quietly. "This choice creates a new pattern." Saitama frowned. "Is that good?" Garrus looked at him for a long moment. "It is stable." Sub-Zero finally spoke, voice low. "Stability is not safety." Saitama looked at him. "No, but it's better than chaos." Sub-Zero held his gaze. He did not smile, but he nodded once. That was his version of respect. Liu Kang turned to Saitama. "You could leave us." Saitama stared ahead. "I don't know how." Liu Kang nodded. "Then you can stay, as you are. Not as a weapon. Not as a symbol. As a guardian who helps when needed." Saitama blinked. "A guardian?" Liu Kang added. "And as a student of control." Saitama sighed, then nodded. "Okay." He looked at the street, at the people, at the shattered glass. Then he asked the most normal question in the middle of a ruined intersection. "So, do you think I can still do my run later?" Johnny Cage barked out a laugh that sounded half like relief. "You are unbelievable." Saitama stared at him. "Is that bad?" Johnny shook his head. "No, it's honestly kind of perfect." The next morning, the temple felt quieter than it had in weeks. Not because the danger was gone, because everyone had seen something important. Saitama could be tempted, but he could also refuse. He stood on the roof again at sunrise, stretching. The sky was clear. The scar in reality was still there, faint and thin, like a line only gods could see. Liu Kang watched from the courtyard below. Garrus stood beside him. "He chose control," Liu Kang said. Garrus nodded. "Yes," Liu Kang's voice lowered. "And Havik enjoyed it." Garrus's face did not change. "Chaos enjoys all outcomes. It is patient." Liu Kang's jaw tightened. "Then I must be patient too." On the roof, Saitama started his push-ups. 1, 2, 3. Kung Lao climbed up quietly and sat a short distance away. He did not try to follow the run today. He just watched the sunrise. After a while, Kung Lao spoke. "Do you ever think you'll stop being bored?" Saitama paused at the top of a push-up. He thought for a moment, honest as always. "I don't know," he said. Kung Lao nodded slowly, like that answer was somehow comforting. Saitama went back to counting. 4, 5, 6. Kung Lao hesitated, then asked, "Why do you keep doing that routine?" Saitama stopped again, sat up, and looked at the horizon. "Because it's simple," he said. "And because it's mine." Kung Lao's eyes narrowed. "Even when the universe is falling apart?" Saitama blinked. "Especially then." Kung Lao stared at him, then let out a breath that sounded like a laugh and a sigh at the same time. "You're weird," Kung Lao said. Saitama nodded. "Yeah." Below, Johnny Cage wandered into the courtyard with a cup in his hand and a tired look on his face. He glanced up and shouted, "Hey, if you're going to be the strongest guy in the realms, can you at least sign something?" Saitama leaned over the edge of the roof. "No." Johnny pointed. That's the right answer, and I hate it! Liu Kang watched the exchange, and the corners of his mouth softened. He looked to Jaras. The realms will keep changing. Jaras nodded. Yes. Liu Kang's gaze lifted to the sky again, to the invisible line of the scar. Villains will keep trying. Jaras's voice stayed steady. Yes. Liu Kang looked up at Saitama. The quiet man counting push-ups like it mattered. And he will keep choosing, Liu Kang said. Garrus watched, unblinking. For now. On the roof, Saitama finished his set. He stood, rolled his shoulders, and looked out at the sunrise. He felt the world's fear, distant, but real. He felt the villain's attention, like eyes in the dark. He also felt something else, a small, steady thing. Not excitement, not a perfect answer. Just a reason to get up again. He turned, ready to start his run, and said it like it was the simplest truth he knew. Okay, one more day.